Yeah, we see it.
Perfect, thanks. So this here's I would like add one slide here. So if there are at one page, yeah, here. So we know like basically we should know like yeah, the tissue, yeah, two type of cells, organ, two or more type of tissues. Yeah, so that's one first one. And another one, only, yeah, epithelial tissue with spontaneous regeneration or other connective, for example, connective tissue, scar tissue will form. And basically, like we are talking about the bone, yeah, and some other tissues like skeletal muscle, nerve, okay, muscle, no, so I said SR, no SR, right? No SR. For this one, the generally is like if big defect, so generally is like, for example, it's like around, yeah, 8 millimeter or more. We, yeah, no SR. So that's like basically, would you like take a look at, yeah, have these pictures in mind. And again, it's like you guys like, for example, it's like in the midterm questions, I will propose some kind of clinical or IND research case. And you should know it's like all regenerations based on cell regulator and scaffold, right? That's we already talked about it before, yeah. So, oh, yeah, talk about like everything originates from next one's embryonic stem cell. So embryonic stem cell is like beginning beginning from, yeah, that's the history. All tissues human body derived from a single cell. We know that. Yeah, fertilize the ovum like this one, then divide and make 2 cells, 4 cells. That's what we call the cleavage. 8 cells and 14, yeah, ball of 16 cells. So the repeated multiple division, the cells like, yeah, make 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, yeah, 8, 8, 16. So each cell, yeah, like this 1, 2, yeah, that's a 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, yeah, 2, 3, 2, 4. During this one, yeah, receive the equal number of, yeah, maternal and prenatal the, yeah, kind of stimulus and differentiation. So at the, yeah, at the stage like this one, early stem, that means a stem, yeah, more kind of stem means like yeah, more kind of potential for differentiation. And like this one, if you take a look at like the, yeah, now, yeah, for the blastulation and implantation, you will see that's a from one, and we have different, yeah, ectoderm, yeah, and endoderm, and make some specific differentiation. That's in the next slides. We know like, yeah, we have like in the amniotic cavity. So right now it's a lot because the stem cell have some use. Stem cell has some has some ethical issues as ethical concerns. So a lot of group right now using like ammonia and amniotic cavity or liquid there to get some specific materials. So that's also right now it's pretty hot part. And so here's like from the blastration make a differentiation. So generally it's like this one. Embryonic germ stick, here the stage like here, right? And we have like have three kind of structure. One is like ectoderm, ectoderm. So that's like give rise or produce epithelium of external surface or nervous tissues. Mesoderm is the in middle, means the middle part, outer part, inside the part, and muscular tissue, connective tissue, and the lining of body cavity of blood vessel. So that's like blood vessel, from the mesoderm. And even inside is endoderm. So epithelium of most internal surface and some glands. So that's like general, So all part in the tissues, surface, tissue, the organs, and their structure can get their original, original location, from this three, like ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, endoderm. So that's the embryonic stem cells start. So next we take a look at the short movie. Oh, this one, this.
Professor, before you start that, we actually have someone who's in the waiting room, Gabby.
Which one? Oh, Gabby. Okay, sure. Yeah, let me. Here. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Thank you for reminding.
No problem.
We go to this one. So you will see the different type of stem cell.
The human body contains organs such as bones, the brain, heart, and reproductive organs. The basic cells that give rise to all of the different cells in these organs are called stem cells. One type of stem cell is an egg cell from a woman that has been fertilized by a sperm from a man. This single cell, called a zygote, is the first cell in a developing human being. It's also called a totipotent stem cell because it can form any type of...
So, as I said, like, totipotent stem cell, the TOTI means like, it can form almost every type of cells. And stem cell, mesenchymal stem cell, is multiple potent stem cell. So it's only multiple potential. But for embryonic stem cell, that's different.
Cell in the body, as well as the umbilical cord and placenta. After a zygote has divided a few times, it becomes an early stage embryo called a blastocyst. Embryonic stem cells come from the cells inside the blastocyst.
Yeah.
Embryonic stem cells are pluripotent. This means they can form any cell in the body, but not the cells in the umbilical cord or placenta. In the lab, embryonic stem cells are donated from leftover embryos created during in vitro fertilization. In vitro fertilization is a procedure to help a woman become pregnant. Another type of stem cell is an adult stem cell. Small groups of these cells are found in some organs, such as the skin, after birth and into adulthood. Adult stem cells are multipotent. This means they can only become a few different cell types related to the organ where they're found. For example, the skin contains a small number of adult stem cells that can divide to create new skin adult stem cells. Or they can become more specialized skin cells to replace those that are lost due to cell aging or damage. In the lab, scientists can now induce or cause a regular body cell, such as a skin cell, to change into a pluripotent stem cell. Like embryonic stem cells, these induced pluripotent stem cells can become any type of cell in the body. Scientists study stem cells to learn how and why they become many different types of cells. In the future, these cells may be used to regrow tissues and organs that have been damaged by injury or disease. Stem cell therapy is a procedure that uses stem cells to treat a disease or condition. Currently, stem cell therapy only treats diseases and cancers of the blood. In leukemia, for example, the patient's bone marrow makes many abnormal white blood cells that can't do their job to fight infection. Over time, these abnormal cells crowd out the production of healthy white blood cells. In stem cell therapy for leukemia, called hematopoietic stem cell transplantation, a doctor will take a sample of blood or bone marrow from the patient or a donor. In some cases, donor blood may come from a baby's umbilical cord after it's born. These tissue samples contain healthy hematopoietic or blood-forming stem cells. Then, doctors will give the patient chemotherapy drugs or use radiation to kill the abnormal white blood cells and their stem cells. Once the abnormal cells are gone, the doctor will transplant the healthy hematopoietic stem cells from the tissue samples into the patient. These healthy stem cells will make new blood cells, including normal white blood cells, which will allow the body to fight off infections.
So that's about the cell and the tissues, and from the embryonic and some other type is adult stem cell. So now we move to the next part is about the mechanical property. Okay. So in the for the mechanical, we know that the body have cells at the birth, so that's for of people, but they were like during the aging, they finally will go to like around 2 or 4 bones. They will have some fused. Some of them fused, and so each bones have their mechanical properties, and for examples like we think about like some need to think about like for tension, compression, for that, for examples, if we're design, filling, bone, defect, we always think about the materials design. Think about in the for the bone defects. So what kind of tension force, compression? We have examples and show what kind of strain in the consider and so that's the orthopedic. We have more mechanical properties in orthopedic. That's they take a look because they take kinds of multiple kinds of the loading. So guys, can you see me on my screen? Let me know, okay, if you cannot see. So orthopedic is hello?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, perfect. And so generally it's for the materials we think about for permanent, permanent. Sometimes we think about for example, titanium or stainless steel. Generally we say SS or TI, okay, in the next for calculation examples, and they are lawyers. So the mechanical generates mechanical property. Generally, we talk about is a compression or compressive, tensile, bending, and more flexibility, or flexibility. That's specific for example strength. That's for what? For right? And some elastic modules. That's generic, elastic modules. That's our general. We use for estimation or calculation, and for your design, for your products or for the implantation and about the biomedical device. So generally it's electrical modules, for example, modules is the generally we say it's the ratio of stress to strain, and differently it's desirable. It's desirable that the biomaterials elastomers is similar. For example, so for the we need a desirable for a matched property. So it means the materials, the biomaterials, elastic modules is similar to host tissue. For example, the bone. And so for examples if for bone, we generally say it's if one match, not match. For examples materials with extremely high elastic modules. I just says E, okay? Elastic modules. That ones should not be implanted. Implant next to host the bone. So you think about that's we call the the stress shielding effects. That means like the host bone generally will lose its loading function. So mostly because why? Things because most loading or most part of loading will go to the high elastic module materials. They implanted device or materials or device. With high elastic modules. Then, that's leading to the host bone losing its strength. So generally it's like, we always think about like, for implantation, that's one examples like for the bone, a mechanical mismatch. And other things like we also know like, the high modules, if you extreme high modules, modules be implanted and neighboring to the host bone. So the host bone, the shear stress, the shear loading generally will be sustained by the falling body materials. And so if like host bone cannot like generate a physical mechanical loading stimuli, then will lose its mechanical strength. So that is a stress shielding effects. And some other things like we know like E high or lower sub strat can also, that's like we talk about in lecture 3. If you get chance to take a look at, the can also decide cell fate. And the elastic modules is kind of, as we already talked about, like this one, right? This one, that's we know the cell. That's one scaffold, regulator. So mechanical elastic modules is a kind of regulator for the cell, can decide the fate of the cell, or like control the differentiation. So the another mechanical properties we should measure is like the hardness. We think about like the should like equal, if your materials like good to equal to the tissues hardness like a bone, right? So if something happens, if the materials or biomedical device biomaterials with very high or extreme high hardness. Another issue happens like where within the loading, so sometimes penetration into the host tissue. Here I see examples of bone where happen. So yeah, mechanical properties like really have some crucial roles and for the repelling during the repelling with the need like work with the host tissue, and so the mechanical should be matched, and some other things like for example like the fracture strength. So fracture strength is like generally says like a max stress can be sustained before some fracture or failure happens. Okay, and so we have some other things like a fracture, strength or toughness. Sometimes I will put a fracture toughness together. So to for what? To evaluate the serviceability. Or you can say it's like working life and their serviceability and the performance. For example, long-term clinical success of the device. Okay. So another one's like for examples like if you use a ceramic materials, we know ceramic materials is very brittle, right? It's a brittle. So think about like correct propagation. Of course, like we talk about like another ones, particular. So that one's like talk about like is repetitive or repeated loading. You can see the bone, or like here's I want to say is the heart. Also we should like some group like if think about your heart, for example, it's like give me your finite potential project title. Okay, so the repeated loading. If you think about the heart valve, we think about like repeated loadings, and so here's like we have a side loading like in the food, right? On the ground. That's repeated. So generally it's like we know like and the here's like focus low, right? So we know the stress equal to elastic modulus times strain, and the strain we use then generally is like a delta L, or the length of change over the original length, and this one is like the force stress is the force divided by divided by the cross-section areas. So here's like generally, so we have one classic figures. So first one is elastic region, then start, the yielding nonlinear areas, maybe the neck areas for the metal materials, then back again, So we generally put this point as the yielding. If this stress the yielding, and this part we call this one is the elastic region, right? So after elastic, this one, generally we say is like that's the fill to fill point, okay? It's a plastic region. So and we another ones like we know, like for example, so we have generally have different materials, and we have the stress, strain. So we have very brittle, like ceramic materials, right? Ceramic, and we have a little bit like for alumina. We see like this one. So that's the for example, alumina. That's more smooth if we compare with the steel. So this one's much higher, and we can this one, the steel. And for this trend, we should consider another ones. It's a Poisson ratio, right? Like one side elongate, the other side get shortened or get decreased. And this one generalized for super elastic, for example, elastic rubber kind of structure. So super elastic or elastomer, for example, elastomer. So generalized Poisson ratio, we put 0.5. That's super elastic, close to 0.5. So now I give you first, we have a general kind of picture in your mind right now. I give you one examples. So first one examples is about a metal guide for what? For stent. A metal guide wire for stent. I will show you in the next time after write down this example. I show the movie what is like a guide wire and how is guide wire to introduce to place stents. Okay, and so the wire is 2.5 millimeter diameter in diameter and 2 meter long. That's for examples like a vascular graft. Okay, so there are many the stents. So stent for the intestinal systems also very useful. And when a force, a loading force is 12 Newton is applied during the surgery. So the while so why, yeah, we can say it's like gate, gate elongated by 0.3 millimeters. So we assume it is elastic, and so we want to calculate a computer to computer the stress in the wire and and the strain and the modules. Think about this one. So before the one make a calculation, I generally give you some ideas. We know that some teams are working on the stent. So this one is using guide Y to introduce the stent into the body. Like this one.
PTCA, or percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty, is a minimally invasive procedure that opens blocked coronary arteries to improve blood flow to the heart muscle. First, a local anesthesia numbs the groin area. Then, the doctor puts a needle into the femoral artery, the artery that runs down the leg. The doctor inserts a guide wire through the needle, removes the needle, and replaces it with an introducer, an instrument with 2 ports for inserting flexible devices. Then the original guide wire is replaced by a thinner wire. The doctor passes a long, narrow tube called a diagnostic catheter over the new wire, through the introducer, and into the artery. Once it's in, the doctor guides it to the aorta and removes the guide wire. With the catheter at the opening of a coronary artery, the doctor injects dye and takes an X-ray. If it shows a treatable blockage, the doctor backs the catheter out and replaces it with a guiding catheter before removing the wire. An even thinner wire is inserted and guided across the blockage. A balloon catheter is then guided to the blockage site. The balloon is inflated for a few seconds to compress the blockage against the artery wall. Then it's deflated. The doctor may inflate the balloon a few more times, each time filling it a little more to widen the passage. This may then be repeated at each blocked or narrowed site. The doctor may also place a stent, a latticed metal scaffold, within the coronary artery to keep it open.
So you think about like 3D. So if you have a group, choose a stent, smart stent, think about like 3D printing the mesh part. And think about like what materials can be coated, for example, like Paclitaxel, doxorubicin, the cancer drugs can be coated. So whenever like this one is like using for example, like stainless steel or nickel titanium. So this kind of valves is a permanent implantation. So when you talk about like the biodegradables, means like if I solve this issue, the materials will be absorbed by the body, and the blood flow is very smooth, can pass through that part to the heart muscle.
Once the compression is done, dye is injected and an X-ray is taken to check for changes in the arteries. Then the catheter is removed.
So they can find the cassette is removed. And we also have, in the future, we have cassette examples, and we need the cassette generally is like we should consider it's non-falling. So the clotting or blood clot will be formed on the surface. And sometimes we also think about is anti-infection. So that's one. It's like we talk about the first examples. A metal guide valves. That's for stent. And the 2 prints, vascular stent, and the coronary, blood supply to the muscle. And so first one, we need we know the force, and in the surgery, and we know the size, and we also we have we know the valves under this force we get like the elongation, that's 0.3 millimeters. So first one, we get the stress. So we know the stress, right? So first one, we should know the area. So area is like, today is March 15. So yesterday is March 13th, pi, right? Interesting. The pi March 14 is also Einstein's birthday. Pi d squared over 4, and we got 4.909 millimeter square. And we know like the stress is force divided by area. And we got is like around 2.44 Newton per millimeter square. So it's 2.44 megapascal. Okay. And we also can get the strain epsilon. We know that elongated delta L is 3 meters. Delta L original range, so this 0.3 millimeter, and then the original range is 2 meter long, so it's 2,000 millimeter. So finally, we can get is around this one, tens, hundreds, thousands, 15. That's the strain. It's very small. And then we can also calculate the modules, right? The stress divided by strain. So we get like 2.44 megapascal over the 0.0015. So you can get like numbers. So if you time, you can calculate it by yourself. And so that's the think about the this one, like this kind of megapascal, right? And any questions for this one? Yeah, if no questions, class is over. Also, like if we have your team want to book a meeting with me and questions for your project, please let me know. Yeah, and we can have a discussion together. So that's today's lecture. Yeah, if no further question. And thank you guys. So see you Wednesday.